Explain the provisions of the General Code relating to custody, complaints, risk management, insurance, advertising, and termination. The outcome refers to 6 separate sections of the General Code of Conduct, which we will need to examine individually. This outcome is quite extensive and will require additional study time to ensure you grasp each section. Section 10 of the General Code of Conduct refers to custody of financial products and funds. Remember that we dealt with custody provisions in Outcome 24. Take note that Section 10(1)(d), which refers to opening a separate bank account and the associated provisions in terms of bank charges and interest accrued, does not apply to short-term insurance providers if they comply with Section 45 of the Short-Term Insurance Act. Please visit the library to reference Section 45 of the Act. Section 11, 12, and 13 refer to the provider's risk management control measures. Risk management in this context refers to the risk of clients, product providers, suppliers, and representatives suffering financial loss through fraud, theft, poor administration, negligence, or misconduct. It is the provider's responsibility to employ its resources and technological systems to eliminate this risk as far as possible. Furthermore, the internal control should ensure that relevant business is carried on in an orderly manner, financial and other information used or provided is reliable, and all applicable laws are complied with. The section on risk management concludes by referring to insurance, which obliges the provider to hold suitable guarantees or professional indemnity cover. Note that this requirement does not apply to representatives. Remember, though, that sole proprietors fulfill 3 roles, one of which is the FSP, and as such would need to comply with this requirement. Section 14 and 15 of the General Code of Conduct deal with advertising and direct marketing provisions respectively. Section 14 is of specific importance for investment products. An advertisement must not contain any statement, promise, or forecast which is fraudulent, untrue, or misleading. Include references to the source and date of performance data, for example, where fund rankings or performance is mentioned. Contain a warning statement about risks involved when buying or selling the financial product, and contain a warning that past performance is not necessarily indicative of future performance. Where illustrations or forecasts are used, they should clearly indicate the basic assumptions used. A good example would be that shares in companies would give a good return, assuming a growing economy. Generally, when investing in shares or equities, returns will not be guaranteed, and therefore the projections are for illustrative purposes only. This should be made clear. It is also important to disclose whether these forecasts are net of fees and charges. The remainder of this section deals with voice logging provisions which have been dealt with. Section 15 begins by dealing with disclosure requirements in terms of direct marketing, which includes the business or trade name, confirmation of being an authorized FSP, as well as the services the direct marketer is authorized to provide, telephone contact details of the direct marketer, except where the client initiated the call, as well as compliance department, and whether the direct marketer holds professional indemnity cover. When providing a client with advice in respect of a product, a direct marketer must establish whether the financial product will be appropriate considering the client's risk profile and financial needs. This is basically a financial needs analysis. Make further disclosures with regards to the product supplier as well as the current legal relationship. Remember that the previous disclosures were in respect of the provider. Provide thorough disclosure in respect of the financial product, including all rights, obligations, and risks concerned. And where financial products are replaced, the actual and potential financial implications and consequences should also be disclosed. Prior to concluding the transaction, a list of disclosures is once again required and should be provided in writing within 30 days. These disclosures should be familiar by now. A brief summary includes telephone contact details, if funds are readily available, restrictions or penalties for early termination, fees or commission, increases in premiums, or any special terms and conditions applicable. Once a transaction has been concluded, the direct marketer should also provide a record of advice in writing, which is subject to the same provisions discussed in Section 9. Sections 16 to 19 deal with complaints, resolution, and specific obligations respectively. The provisions are very similar to those prescribed in Outcome 33, referenced from the FASE Act. Review Outcome 33 and read the appropriate sections of the General Code of Conduct to ensure you have a good understanding of the requirements regarding complaints. Finally, termination of the agreement or business relationship is dealt with in Section 20 and takes place in one of two ways. The client requests termination of the relationship relating to the financial product or service. Note, in some cases the request for termination is as a result of the provider's advice, such as where a financial product is replaced, in which case the client must understand the full implications of the termination. Or the provider or representative ceases to operate, in which case all clients must be notified and reasonable steps taken to ensure that all outstanding business is completed or transferred to another provider.